Tar Heels are back on the field for a new season, but some old questions are still popping up.
And UNC students took to the streets to have their say on gender-neutral housing. But is the Board of Governors listening?
And state officials think it's a good idea for people to be able to bring guns into bars. Really?
Carolina Week is back, and it starts right now.
From the UNC School of Journalism and Mass Communication, covering Carolina in HD, this is Carolina Week.
Well, it is a new year, but old questions still linger. Athletic and academic scandal, gender-neutral housing, sexual assault. Good evening, I'm Landon Dowdy.
And I'm Natalia Perez-Signini. We have a series of reports for you tonight on those questions. First, Ali Macion follows up on the athletic scandal and some ideas being tossed around to help the university polish its tarnished reputation.
We lift in the morning at 6:30. We start meetings around 2:15. Then we get dressed and come out here at 4 o'clock. We get started with practice.
Somewhere in his day, freshman wide receiver Bug Howard finds time for class and studying. But Howard says time isn't always on his side.
It's tough. Coming from a high school I come from, I didn't really study that much. I probably did the most study I did in my whole entire high school year, so yeah, it's a hard adjustment.
An adjustment the Rawlings panel hopes to make. The panel is made up of leaders in higher education and athletics. It just released a report concerning the role of athletics on campus in light of UNC's recent scandal. UNC Professor Jay Smith says the report addresses a number of critical issues.
There is a significant number of athletes, particularly in the revenue sports, who are brought to campus and exploited for their athletic talents, but not given the kind of education that they need and deserve.
Of the 28 recommendations made in the report, one of the most bold suggests a year of readiness for incoming freshmen who may be academically at risk. Athletic Director Bubba Cunningham says UNC wants to lead a national conversation on freshman ineligibility, but can't do it alone.
If we want to do that as a group, it's a good thing. I don't want to do anything that puts our student athletes or our coaches at a competitive disadvantage.
Maybe not, but what about student athletes with an academic disadvantage? NCAA research shows Division I athletes spend on average 38 hours per week on academics, compared with 40+ hours on athletics.
Something the Student Athlete Academic Initiative Working Group considers here at UNC. Provost Jim Dean leads the group.
We're looking at recruiting, we're looking at admissions, advising, major selection, and so on, to make sure that everything we're doing withstands scrutiny and that it will lead to a really high-quality education.
Provost Dean says implementing the Rawlings report will take some time, and UNC can't do it alone, but the university is dedicated to restoring UNC's reputation. In Chapel Hill, I'm Ali Macion.
You might have thought that the gender-neutral housing issue was over and done with, right? Well, think again. And some UNC students are not too happy about it. They marched a mile from the pit to the latest Board of Governors meeting. Demonstrators carried signs as they walked to the Spangler Center demanding gender-neutral housing be reinstated at Carolina. But will it make a difference? Janelle Davis has the latest.
Evan Claiborne was supposed to live in Ram Village with a female roommate. Instead, he's here in Odom Village, alone.
For me, it was really devastating and it was really disheartening.
Claiborne is disheartened by the UNC Board of Governors' decision to overturn gender-neutral housing on campus.
Not all those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
It's been taken away, and it's just one of the things where we're like, why? Why would you do this?
Opponents of gender-neutral housing call it a frivolous social experiment.
Students are getting sent here to get an education that feels safe while they're doing it. And last time I checked, that was not a frivolous social experiment.
8 of UNC's 15 peer institutions agree. They provide some form of gender-neutral housing. Only 8 miles away, Duke offers gender-neutral housing in rooms like this. The VP of Equity and Outreach for Duke Student Government, Jacob Tabaya, believes this movement was inevitable.
My hope is that 20 or 30 years from now, we're going to look back at the moment where schools started having gender-neutral housing in the way that we now look at the moment where schools started going co-ed.
There are currently 30 students living in gender-neutral housing at Duke.
2, 5, 6, 8, we demand DNA!
Demonstrations led the Board of Trustees to approve gender-neutral housing last fall. LGBTQ Director Terry Phoenix has been advocating for gender-neutral housing since 2006.
All that work, our hands are tied. Yes, we cannot implement gender nonspecific housing. We can't.
But Claiborne remains optimistic.
Inspiring conversations make the wildfire start.
Reporting from Chapel Hill, I'm Janelle Davis.
The Board of Governors was majority Democrat when gender-neutral housing was approved, but now the Board of Governors is majority Republican.
And we're not finished with the issue of sexual assault either, yet another subject that dominated our campus last year. There were charges and there were countercharges, accusations that university officials tried to cover up cases. Well, there could be changes on the way. Vanessa Martinez reports.
Sarah Catherine Bryan is a junior. She's majoring in women's and gender studies and comparative literature at Carolina. Bryan said she was asked to be on the new sexual assault task force because she's a victim. But she had her doubts about being involved.
For a while, I was worried that we weren't going to do anything at all, that we would be a non-voting body of talking heads.
The 22-member task force is charged with reviewing the university's sexual assault policy. The way the university handles sexual assault cases produced rallies and a formal complaint to the federal government last school year that victims were being assaulted twice, once by their attackers, then again by university officials in how they handled reports. The task force mission is to review those policies and make recommendations to the new chancellor. Student body president Christy Lambden is on the task force. He says the committee is also reviewing how assaults are reported.
So far, we've mainly focused on the content of the policy and figuring that out, and we're still in that phase of it.
The policy is about 50 pages long, and the task force isn't even halfway through it. The policy isn't the only issue the task force wants to change.
In addition to that, we're kind of working to try and change the campus culture around this issue.
Bryan says the task force is trying to improve the available options and reporting methods for victims.
Ultimately, I'd like for there to be zero barriers to people who feel that they have been sexually assaulted to report that incident.
Members of the task force say they hope to have the recommendations to the chancellor by the end of the fall semester. In Chapel Hill, I'm Vanessa Martinez.
Some things are different this year. This year's freshman class includes about 300 Latino students. That number may sound small, but it's more than a 15% increase from last year, and officials are expecting the number only to grow. Brittany Hendricks reports.
Gemma Herrera is a Hispanic freshman at UNC who hopes to double major in pre-med and Spanish. Hoping to follow in her older sister's footsteps of graduating at Tar Heel, Herrera is only the second person in her family to attend college.
Both of them have acquired some high school, but as far as college-wise, they unfortunately haven't attended.
That privilege and diversity are two of the purposes of the Diversity and Multicultural Affairs Office. Vice Provost Taffy Benson Clayton heads the office.
So the diversity that I recall here at Carolina when I was a student was, I think, primarily African Americans, Caucasians.
Clayton says things have changed since she was a student. This school year, UNC saw an increase of almost 20% among freshman students identifying themselves as Latino or Latina.
This is consistent with what the projections are for the growth in terms of the Latino population. And so we're seeing it, and I think it's important for our institution, and I think we are being mindful of it.
Being a part of the Tar Heel community was something Herrera felt was important, especially after seeing how much her sister evolved in her 4 years.
She influenced me a lot when I was in high school and made me want to change and be a better person.
A legacy that Herrera hopes to pass on to other minority high school students. In Chapel Hill, I'm Brittany Hendricks.
Orange and Chatham counties have a new state senator. She's Valerie Foushee, a former state representative, Natalia.
Well, Foushee's replacing Ellie Kinnaird, who resigned. Kinnaird is stepping down after 30 years in politics.
Wow.
Ashley Dolan found out what's next for her.
Kinnaird might be 81 years old, but don't call her a raging granny.
No way!
Kinnaird resigned from the North Carolina Senate in August. While she loved being in the legislature, she says she became frustrated over changes thanks to a new majority.
We have made a turn that has harmed our people and our image and our reputation.
With Republicans in full control of the legislature and the governor's mansion, Kinnaird says Democrats like her have become irrelevant. This is something not lost on Jim Porto, one of the people who wanted to replace Kinnaird in the North Carolina Senate.
What we have in Raleigh is an alien force taking over our state. I look at the Republicans now and I see the board.
With Valerie Fouchy filling Kinnaird seat in the North Carolina Senate, Kinnaird now stands among the people. With her efforts inside the Senate now at a close, she's now trying to raise awareness out on the streets. She has begun work on grassroots projects, such as a voter ID project.
I feel that it's very important to make a statement and work on something else.
Kinnaird doesn't want anyone's vote to be denied through the new voter ID bill. She says she fears students will be the most affected by not having the proper ID and not knowing the correct precinct to vote in.
We're going to turn this around. I'm convinced that people are really, really angry.
So while Kinnaird may be out of the Senate, she's definitely not out of the picture.
We won't stand by without raising our voices and, yes, our fists.
In Chapel Hill, I'm Ashley Dolan.
Valerie Fouchy will fill out the remainder of Kinnaird's term in office, which runs through December 2014.
It's been a year and there are still more questions than answers in the beating death of Faith Hedgepath. We'll have the latest.
And this UNC grad student thinks she ought to be able to carry her handgun into a bar. What's up with that? We have the story coming up on Carolina Week.
Connect with us online by liking the Carolina Week Facebook page and following us on Twitter at Carolina Week UNC.
So, I just moved in with this family, and it's embarrassing. The little one, he likes to go outside and crawl around in the giant litter box. I don't know what he's doing. I mean, I was born and I knew how to use the litter box. Look at that! That's disgusting! Oh, poop already! You're making me nervous. Oh, okay, I can't look at this anymore. I really hope he grows out of this, for his sake.
A boy born in Joplin, Missouri was fascinated by anything with wheels and a motor. The odds of him winning both the Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 in the same year, 1 in 195 million. The odds of a child being diagnosed with autism, 1 in 88. I'm Jamie McMurray, and my niece has autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
You must be your fairy godmother?
It doesn't take a fairy godmother.
That's exactly what friends and family of Faith Hedgepath have been doing for more than a year, waiting for answers concerning her mysterious death. I spoke with her friends and family about their journey so far.
On September 7th, 2012, Faith Hedgepath was found dead on the bedroom floor of her Durham apartment. Ever since, her friend, UNC-Chapel, has been waiting for answers.
I really don't know what they're doing because they haven't said anything for a long time.
Chapel Hill police have no updates except a new press release saying the killer may have been familiar with Hedgepath. Someone that close to Hedgepath may mean they're close to Chavis as well.
Was her killer at her funeral? Did I see him there? Because it could have been.
There have been vigils since her death, and friends and family walked in the anniversary in remembrance of Faith. But her father can't stop thinking about the tragedy of last September.
It's very difficult. It doesn't get any easier. It's always on my mind.
After a year, no arrests. And a Superior Court judge has sealed all records in the case.
I mean, we don't know any more now than we knew the day she died. So, in a way, it feels like they've done nothing the past year.
Back in January, State Bureau of Investigation found DNA of an unidentified man in Hedgepath's apartment. Police thought it may lead to the killer. 7 months later, nothing. Chapel Hill police aren't talking, and they don't plan to anytime soon. They don't want to release detailed information at the risk that they might jeopardize the investigation. Chavis doesn't want to jeopardize the case either. She just wants answers.
I want to be able to move on with my life as best I can. So the best I can is if I knew everything now and grieved everything at once.
Hedgepath would have celebrated her 21st birthday this month.
And Hedgepath isn't the only UNC student whose death is still a mystery. The death of 18-year-old David Shannon remains unsolved.
And speaking of ongoing investigations, campus police need your help in identifying 3 suspects who have been linked to 2 separate thefts at UNC student stores. The first incident occurred back in April when close to $4,000 worth of books were reported stolen. Authorities believe that the robbery could be linked to an attempted larceny in August. According to student store employees, the thieves were able to steal the textbooks by removing the prevention loss tag. You can see 3 suspects in surveillance photos right here. Authorities say that the suspects have been seen on campus driving a van or light-colored SUV with a Florida license plate.
Country, and the killings in Washington this week will likely only fuel those arguments.
Absolutely will, and those arguments continue in North Carolina over recent changes. One of those changes allows gun owners with concealed carry permits to, get this, carry their weapons into bars. Carolina Week's Delia D'Ambra has the story.
A .38 revolver, not what you might expect graduate student Katie Ellis to own, but she does, and she has a concealed carry permit too. Her reason is simple.
Just for comfort. I live about 4 hours from home now, being at school, and it not only eases my parents' mind, but you just feel safer.
The new gun laws allow concealed carry permit holders like Ellis to bring firearms into bars, something that had been illegal. That's leaving some bar owners concerned. Goodfellows owner Steve Woodham.
I feel for us, for Chapel Hill, for Franklin Street, for the type of business we operate.
There are some safeguards. Permit holders can't drink alcohol if they're carrying a firearm, and the law gives bar and restaurant owners the option to post no concealed carry signs if they want, something Ellis doesn't support.
I don't really think that's fair. I think that that's something that the government has decided that's okay.
Woodham understands that argument, but still plans to post his sign.
I'm not anti-gun in any way, but for us, it doesn't quite make sense.
Lieutenant Kevin Gunter of the Chapel Hill Police Department thinks educating officers is key to enforcement.
We'll get the information to the officers to make sure that they're aware that come October 1st, these are the changes, and this is what our expectations are for enforcement.
And part of that enforcement will require Ellis to make sure her gun is stored safely in her car and out of bars like Goodfellows. In Chapel Hill, I'm Delia D'Ambra.
We mentioned that shooting at the Navy Yard, Washington this week, and we're learning tonight that one of the 12 killed was a former UNC student. Metropolitan Police confirmed Mary DiLorenzo Knight was killed in the shooting. Knight was a UNC student in the 1980s. Knight lived in Virginia and worked in the Navy Yard.
College degrees can be really expensive for some people, but do they pay off, and where do you get the best returns? That answer might surprise you. After evaluating more than 1,000 U.S. colleges and universities, Payscale.com ranked UNC well behind neighbors Duke and NC State. UNC ranked 362nd in terms of how much money you get back after investing in college. The ranking is based off of a comparison of the income students earn over the course of 30 years and the cost of tuition. UNC had a return of about $650,000. Take a look at how we stack up against other schools around the country, including some of our rivals. Harvey Mudd is headed on the list with a return of more than $2 million. Duke ranked 38th with a return of about $1.1 million. And even NC State topped Carolina, ranking 171st with a return of more than $800,000.
And getting back and forth from UNC to Duke just got more expensive. Duke University is just 8 miles away, but now it's $2.50 away, too. The Robertson bus started charging students for a ride in the spring. The bus now costs $2.50 each way. Passengers can swipe their payment at the front, like you see here at the front of the bus, and then sit down. But Robertson scholars and all Duke students taking classes at UNC don't have to pay. They can use their Go Passes.
Runners in the Triangle have something to celebrate this week after lifting their heels to help others get healed. During the past 2 years, runners have raised more than $100,000. Participants crossed the finish line with style at the Get Healed 5K near the Friday Center. The 5K raises money to help families affected by cancer. And Ramsey's was there too to support the runners. Some were there to race, and a few of the younger ones were just there along for the ride. All of the money raised through registration, donations, and fundraising is given to UNC Lineberger's Clinic.
Well, Natalia, we may be back at school and still dealing with some of the same issues, but I am so glad to be back under the Carolina blue sky.
It's picture perfect weather out there.
It's been amazing.
I'm excited to see what the rest of the week has to hold, and Katie McGee, our fabulous meteorologist, will be with us after the break to tell you what we got going on in weather.
Myra, New York. A boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Welcome home, man.
Good evening. Welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm meteorologist Katie McGee. Today we did have warmer temperatures than in the past at this time. However, it has been cooler. We saw a high of 76, which our normal temperatures only at 82, and that also continued with that cooling trend with our low we saw this morning, 54 degrees, well below our normal of 61. However, we did have a wetter summer than we have in the past. Rainfall just over 32 inches, which is about 2 to 3 inches over our average for this time of year. Now, breaking down just the next couple of hours for you in our fast forecast, we can see 8 p.m. tonight, we're expecting temperatures to be around 63 with clear skies persisting through midnight at 57. And then 8 a.m. we'll see temperatures again cooling off into the mid-50s. So if you are heading out tonight or early tomorrow morning, make sure you bring a jacket. No need for an umbrella anytime soon. We will have clear or partly cloudy skies for the next few days. But you can see in our satellite image, couple clouds to our west banked on the west of the Appalachian Mountains. However, clear skies all along the eastern seaboard. And looking at our surface map, we can see that's because of this high pressure system located to our northeast. Now, high pressure systems are associated with sinking air, which doesn't allow for it to rise and make cloud cover. And as that counterclockwise motion comes down, it brings with it all of that cool, crisp weather, which will persist on into tonight as we still see clear skies. Again, those high chances of precipitation staying well to our west. And that will continue on through tomorrow. However, what we need to keep our eye on these next couple of days is this cold front to our west. Now, as that moves towards us, it's going to bring those higher chances of precipitation that aren't expected to arrive until later this weekend. Now, looking ahead just at tonight, again, a crisp evening in store for us with a light breeze making things seem a little cooler than our low of 54. So again, if you are heading out to the library to study, make sure you bring that jacket with you. Same thing for tomorrow. Mostly sunny skies with a bit of a humid morning, not as crisp as we have seen, with highs getting up to a beautiful 79 degrees, great for outdoor weather. Now, we do have some activity in our tropics, 2 tropical storms to keep our eye on. Tropical storm Umberto is off in the mid-Atlantic. However, that's expected just to go up and veer to the east, not expected to make landfall anywhere as it dissipates. Same thing with Manuel down by the Yucatan Peninsula in Mexico, expected to rise on up into the sea, dissipate, again, not make any significant impact on landfall. Now, looking ahead at our 5-day forecast, again, we can see 79 degrees on Thursday with sunny skies and partly cloudy skies continuing on for the next couple of days, with a high reaching only up to 85 on Friday, with that cold front approaching Sunday night, with our chances continuing on for rain Monday morning. So we will have beautiful temperatures these next couple of days. However, we will see a little bit of rain towards the end of this weekend.
I guess it's not too bad. A little bit of rain to bring some nice flowers, maybe.
And it's my favorite time of year. It's like the humidity's gone and we're getting closer to fall.
Oh, it's perfect. Perfect weather.
And we're glad to have you back. Thanks so much for joining us.
I'm more than happy to be back. I love being here.
Thanks, Katie.
It's been a long road for Carolina's new place kicker, but he's finally on the big stage. Sports is coming up.
My dad's one of the producers. Bring this one.
Jimmy can't sing,
And Tommy can't dance.
so we're gonna put some ants in their pants. Aww.
Kids will spend 22 minutes watching us, the super duper party trooper. Got ants in their pants.
Isn't that funny? Ants in their pants, they got ants in their pants, they've got ants in their pants.
Brushing for 2 minutes now can save your child from severe tooth pain later. 2 minutes, twice a day. They have the time.
Hey, my Welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm Allie Massione. It's been a quiet week for UNC football. The Tar Heels used their bye to prepare for this weekend's game at Georgia Tech. Last year's game against the Yellow Jackets was the highest scoring football game in ACC history. 11 different players scored 16 touchdowns for a combined 118 points. Georgia Tech defeated the Heels 68-50, which isn't the kind of morale UNC wants to have going into this weekend's game. The Heels haven't won in Atlanta for 16 years. Head coach Larry Fedora said he was surprised it had been that long and hopes to break the streak, but it might come down to just a few points. Nicole Comparado joins us live from Kenan Stadium. And I think we're hi Nicole, how are you?
Hi, Nicole. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, that's right, Allie. It could come down to just a few points. So it might be interesting, though, because you might not know the person who it might all be up to. Our newest kicker, Thomas Moore, is replacing Casey Barth this season, and he's looking to make an impact this weekend and right away.
Watch more in the Heels take on Georgia Tech Saturday at noon. Thanks, Nicole, for joining us. 118 points. How about that, guys?
Woo, wow. 18 points. That is.
You know, last year's game, I hope our defense has, improved since then. Funny thing, the night before last year's Georgia Tech game, our basketball team played, and the combined score for the basketball game was lower than the football game.
Wow. That means that the basketball boys might need to take some tips from those football boys,
We
right?
need defense help big time.
I definitely agree.
All right, thanks so much. There's more than one way to get into shape, although I'm not quite so sure about this guy. That story is coming up.
If you have a story idea, call Carolina Week at 919-843-8292 or email us at carolinaweek@unc.edu. And if you have questions about this program, write to us at Carolina Week, Campus Box 3365, UNC-CH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina 27599. Be sure to check out Carolina Week online at carolinaweek.org.
Did you know kids who play outdoors have healthier lungs?
Totally. Did you know that boys that play with dolls make better husbands? My son has lots of dolls.
But did you know terry cloth diapers breathe better?
I did.
It's totally true.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys know statistically friendly kids have more friends?
Yeah. That's obvious.
Did you know most people think they're using the right car seat for their kid, but they're not?
Parents who really know it all know for sure that their child is in the right seat. Visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat to make sure your child is protected.
There are a million places you'd never consider texting. So why would you do it while driving? Leave risky driving to the professionals. Stop the texts, and together we can stop the wrecks.
Well, Natalia, Campus Recreation just turned up the party.
I saw that video. They not only turned up the party, but they got down with some Zumba dance moves at the Zumba Fiesta last night.
Wait till you see.
Students, gym members, and even a gorilla worked up a sweat as instructors led Zumba routines in the SRC studio. During rest periods, UNC performance groups took the stage, and participants had a chance to win raffle prizes. The event bumped, stepped, and danced on for 2 hours before everyone was Zumba'd out. That looks like so much fun. I'd like to give that a try.
I know. I love Zumba. It's a great workout.
Maybe we should go together next week.
Sounds good.
Well, that does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Thanks for watching. Have a good night.